Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Relating to Your Students of Every Race, Ethnicity, and Color. And I hope you like my music because I put music on there because sometimes this topic gets a little tricky and people don't really like to talk about it. So can students that don't look like you relate to you? Can you relate to them? So let's get started. All right, so the objectives of this training is that we're gonna learn ideas on how to relate to your students, differences and similarities of all students, detailed study on racial ethnic identity among students with references, take-home ideas to incorporate in your classroom. Now, I have a lot of resources on this page, so I think that you will get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation so that you can click on it yourself and study what I have in there because it's so much information. So let's get started. Hola, my name is Jennifer White. I'm a Spanish teacher at Donahoe School and I'm a native of the Dominican Republic. I'm a mother of 5 children, a pastor's wife, and I teach Spanish levels 1, 2, and 3. And then I teach grades 1st, 2nd, and 3rd as a Spanish enrichment. And this is my contact information if you're interested in reaching out to me in any way. Now, why should we relate to our students? We want to reach our students and encourage them to like world languages so that it can be easier for us to teach them and for them to receive our information. So basically, that's the reason why we have to relate. You don't want kids coming into your classroom and not liking you, even though that happens a lot. I have kids that don't like me, but you want to be able to reach students and you want to be able to reach them at their level and you want to show them that you care about them. Now, what do all students like? When I was doing the study, I was like, okay, how do I relate to my kids? I'm a teacher that I'm a Hispanic and I teach all white students. So I'm thinking, what is it that what can I know about them? Well, let's see, what do they like? Maybe the stuff they like, I like too. So they like music, they like dance, they like art, video games, cell phones, cool series on Netflix, being left alone, and being comfortable. I think that sounds like me. Does it sound like you in a way? Yeah, I think we all have that. Now, how do I use what they like? Now, with music, I usually play music as they enter the classroom every day. Now, if kids like hip hop, then I would try to find, since I teach Spanish, whatever language you teach, find in that language the hip hop, or find in that language any type of music that they would like, and make a playlist and make sure that when they walk in the room, they're hearing that type of music, because you'll be surprised when you play that same song over and over. They're like, oh, I like that song. Oh my goodness, that's my jam. And I've heard kids saying that about my reggaeton music. They're like, oh my God, that's my jam. I love Daddy Yankee. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at you. You actually like my music. All right, dance. Teach them a simple dance that you knew when you were a kid. Maybe an electric slide, a Zumba lesson plan. You could do that. Like Zumba, I have to put in, I'm going to go ahead and link that too, which is it's a type of fitness where you just follow the leader. So it's perfect for world language classrooms because you could get up there and it doesn't even matter if you dance or not, they're following you, and it's pretty cool. Now with art, I like to incorporate an art project in the language, like for piñatas, self-portraits, anything that has to do with art. I like to incorporate that because a lot of kids, you'll know those kids. They're the ones that they sit in your class and they'll draw. And then by the end of class, they have these art masterpieces. And I'm like, whoa, you can draw. And some of them get on my blackboard. Well, it's not a blackboard anymore, it's a whiteboard. They get on my whiteboard and they'll draw like a picture of me, or they'll draw just wonderful things, flowers and stuff. And I'm like, oh, please don't erase that. I actually have an artwork on my whiteboard that's been there for 5 years. This girl already been graduated, but still her artwork is there. And when she comes to visit me, all she has to do is look on that board. And it's actually a portrait of myself. She drew a picture of me on the first day of school when she met me, and it's still there. And kids try to erase it, but now it's where it's permanent. The only way you can take it off is with water. But anyway, encourage the art, especially those art students. With video games, you guys already know what to do. You already play games in your world language classroom. So all you have to do is just continue to do so and always discover new stuff out there. I know that my friend Rachel Lucas, she is really good with tech stuff. So you can always reach out to her and ask her like, what's the latest games, and follow her on her page because she has a tech for world language teachers, and that is amazing. Now the cell phones. Kids love cell phones. Most of you probably cannot use cell phones in your classroom. I know I can't, but with permission, if it's something planned, we will use cell phones. So you can use a cell phone for like maybe a Kahoot game, or maybe to fill out a questionnaire or any other type of game. Now, a cool series on Netflix, kids already love Netflix. They love Hulu. They love watching TV. Find the cool stuff that you can watch. Now, there's a lot of things that are inappropriate. I know for Spanish language, there's so much bad things out there. I have to just watch it and then fast forward it, and then just show them the clips I want them to watch, because it's not very safe for our students. They don't make things, they don't make resources for us world language teachers as far as movies and TV shows that are just for us to teach. So you have to be careful with that. Now there is a company called Edu Novela, EDUNOVELA, and I think they do French and Spanish. And what they do is that they take away anything bad in a video or movie, and then you purchase it, and it could be homework for the kids that they watch a soap opera and stuff, and that's pretty cool. Now, the ones that I suggest here is like La Niña, Gran Hotel, Mi Amigo Alexis. Mi Amigo Alexis is a good movie, and there's nothing wrong with that movie. It's about a soccer player. So if you find stuff about sports, sometimes it's not good, but like everybody, I know you guys, I'm just preaching to the choir. You normally have to examine everything that you show your kids anyway. Being left alone. Now there's some kids that they're very shy, and I tend to irk their nerves by calling them out all the time. But if they're shy, if I realize that they're shy kids, what I'll do is I'll leave them alone. And sometimes I'll go after class and say, hey, are you okay today? Did you understand everything? Just notice those shy kids. And if they don't like to be called out, you can even tell them on the side, look, today we're going to do an activity. I'm going to have you speak out loud. So just be ready, okay? Be prepared. And they like that. They like that you're watching out for them. Now, being comfortable. Now, I ask for feedback in my classroom, like what makes you comfortable? What do you like? And I provide pillows, blankets, and toys to help students who need distractions. Like I have kids that have ADHD, so I will have like a squishy ball, or I'll have something that they will be able to touch. I also have like a little sloth. The sloth is my favorite animal. So everybody knows they grab my sloth and they put it on their back, and it's a sloth that you press the button and it massages your back. This is awful because the kids get used to it, and then every time they come to the class, they get a massage, but then they end up messing up my batteries, and then the sloth is broken and everything. But the good thing about it is that I always send an email to the parents and I say, hey, everyone got to use my sloth. If you guys think of a gift to give me, please bring me batteries or a new sloth. And you'll be surprised. There'll be a parent out there that will help you out. I hope I'm not talking so fast because I talk so fast. Anyway, learn the differences and similarities of your students. This is going to be the tough part, but you need to study their culture, learn how to educate them better. Here are some personal experiences and references. And here's a quote that I use from all of the people around me who look like me and were the ones I should relate to the most. I actually felt like this white teacher from Ohio was one teacher who understood me the most, and she looked nothing like me. She was my teacher in 9th grade in a home ec class. And she would tell me, okay, Jennifer, you need to study this and compete in this event. And she got me in this club called FHA Hero. I don't know if anybody knows about it. It's old school, Future Homemakers of America. And she told me, you need to study this. And then in the middle of class, she will say, okay, guys, she has to study a speech, impromptu speaking. So we're going to send her out. You guys give her a topic. She has 5 minutes to write a speech. And it was like, what? And she did this to me every day. But this teacher, I thought she was racist. I thought, why is she always after me? Why is she always treating me this way? I found out later on that she pushed me that much because she saw something in me, something special, a potential. And she didn't tell me till later, which I needed it before that. But hey, now that I'm a teacher, I will voice this to my students. I'll say, hey, you have potential. I think you can do this. So this is why I'm going to push you to the limit, because I know that you can do it. Now, I didn't have anybody else in my life to push me that way. So I needed her to show me that I can actually do it. I ended up being a state representative for the club, speaking in front of thousands of teenagers all over the country. I am such a shy person, and being in front of people, you might think, oh, she's not shy, but I am shy. I have my versions of shyness, and it's very funny. I get, sweat under my arms and under my legs. It's really embarrassing. But I realized that being shy cannot be a crutch for me. I had to realize that I had to just, if I had a responsibility to do, then I had to get past being shy. So with your students, you have to be able to relate to each one. So let me go to these different studies and research that I've done. And all of you will end up getting, oops, I went to the wrong place. You're gonna each get a copy of my research that I've done about how to teach Black students, how to teach white students, Asian students, Middle Eastern students, and Hispanic students. Now, I don't have any other ethnicity because this is the research that I'm used to, and this is the type of kids that I'm used to. So, oh my gosh, I left there. Okay, it's all right. Okay, so let's start with teaching Black students. I am not gonna go in depth with each of this because it's too much information. It's a lot of information, but I want you to read through it. It's really a really good read. But my thing is, if you're gonna teach Black students, you can't teach them if you don't care about them. Black students, they see this, which this is any student, so I'm not trying to like label them, but I'm talking about Black students right now. So I put over here just a reminder, every time I write something about a certain race, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just coming from an honest point of view, and I love my students. I love all of them, and I'm a people person, and I just love studying the different cultures. So this is just my point of view. Everyone's experience is different. So here I have for you in this sheet the resource. I write something about me and my experiences with Black students, and then I have a bunch of resources that you can read about on the internet that you could find out about how to teach Black students. And let me read to you some of these topics. 9 things every educator should know when teaching Black students. Dear white teachers, you can't love your students if you don't know them. The race connection, when students are Black and teachers are white. How to manage class of Black students when you are not Black. Teaching Black students love in a system that doesn't always love them back. A letter to white teachers about my Black students. Now this stuff hits home. These are things that is really important for all teachers to research and read about. I think this training is super important. Now let's go on to teaching white students. Now I teach white students, so I'm in that perspective where I'm the only one in the room that is not like them. So if any of you have ever felt like this, then this is it. But anyway, just a reminder, don't want to offend anyone. I have a story here about me and my experience with teaching white students. And then this is the resources that I have relevant in an all-white school. White schools need more teachers of color for white students. When you're the only white person in the room, why do white people have a hard time talking about race? And there's a lot of books about this. And when talking about this, I have later on a questionnaire. I'm advancing myself, but as a teacher that's not white, teaching white students, I have to be able to relate to them and know how they are. And I know that my students, they're very quiet about certain topics. They don't like talking about racism out loud. They don't like talking about the obvious. But after a few years of having a relationship with them, which this is the main glue for everything, they're having a relationship with them, you're able to bring it up later on, and they're willing to talk about it without feeling a little guilty, because maybe they feel guilty because they've heard so much and they're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm white, so she's probably gonna feel uncomfortable with me, which I don't. They know I don't. So 10 things every white teacher should know when talking about race, relevant in an all-white school. So this is reading, as I said, is long, so you can read this on your own if you'd like. But my last name is White, so I make a lot of jokes about I'm the white girl, and I tell people white kids only, white kids in my car only, and that's only just a joke. And some people might get offended, but most people just say, oh, that's so funny, she's white. And in my school, since I'm the only non-white faculty, I would say jokes like, hey, I'm the white girl, dance like this white girl. And it's just so funny. It's just, I like making my kids laugh, and I like to let them know that the issue or the topic of race and colorism shouldn't be uncomfortable to talk about with you, with the teacher. We world language teachers are the ones to talk about these hard topics. I don't know about math or science. I don't know when that comes up. But when it comes to teaching a culture, you got to get into these difficult topics. And who's the best person? They have to be able to come to you. So my next one is teaching Asian students. And I have here, the Asian students that I teach are either exchange students or they're adopted into a family of a different race. Nonetheless, I haven't met one that wasn't pleasant. Here are 10 facts about Asian students taken from Stanford University. So my Asian students, the biggest struggle I've had with them is if they're adopted, and we're talking about an identity unit. And I told them about their identity, and they have to research, and they're like, I grew up in this household my whole life. You know, what should I consider myself, white or Asian? And that's a hard subject, and that's something that you really can't answer for them. So I usually tell them, hey, just go ahead and really think about this. You still have time to think. You know, people will look at you, and what do they see? And then they'll say Asian. I said, just like me, people look at me without hearing my accent. What are they going to think? They're going to think either they might think Hispanic if they're used to being around Hispanics, but if they might see me, they might think I'm mixed with black and white, or they might just think I'm black. So I say, well, I'm black. I just say I'm black as a race. So that way I say, that's what you see, that's what you get. But with you, what do you think about yourself? And, you know, they have to think about it. And this is something that teenagers rarely know who they are. So I'm on a mission to like always bring that out of them. What do you like? Asking them hard topics, asking them about themselves. This identity thing, it's a big deal. They need to know who they are, what they aspire to be. So with Asians, I just had a lot of fun with Asians. I remember taking my 2 Chinese students to Mexico on a bus, on a yellow bus. That's another story, but it was so much fun taking them to another country, and everyone's telling me, oh my gosh, you're taking Chinese nationals across the border. What are you gonna do? And thank God we came back safely. We actually had to cross the border on foot. Like we went across the border on the bus. And then when we came back, when we got to Mexico, I spoke to a leader there, and I said, hey, we're kind of concerned about the Chinese not able to go back. So he said, hey, let's walk out of Mexico on foot. And I was like, what, on foot? Okay. So I took all my paperwork. We went on foot, crossed the bridge, paid like 20 cents, and they crossed back to the US, and it was fine. Everything went fine, and so glad they didn't get fired because we were able to bring the Chinese back. But my boss clearly told me, bring them back. They're exchange students. So I was like, yeah, I will. I wasn't sure, but I was confident. All right, so we'll keep on going. We have teaching Middle Eastern students. I don't know if any of you guys have Middle Eastern students, but here I tell my story about my wonderful opportunity to be able to teach at a Muslim school. And I'm just a person, I just love people. I love kids and I love culture. So the opportunity came for me to teach at a Muslim school while I was in college. And I said, yes, I want to do it. And while I was there, I got to learn so much about Muslims, about the people from Pakistan and India. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I will never forget it. And I hope also that when they think of me or they think of Dominican Republic or Hispanics, that they'll remember me and think of it as a positive thing. So I'm just so excited about teaching the Middle Eastern students. They are really, really special kids, which all the kids are special. But here I have raising teachers, cultural knowledge of Middle Eastern students in the classroom. And there's also up here, I don't know if you could see it, I'll highlight it. Here's an article about an Arab, I can't even say that in English because I can't speak English sometimes. Here's an article about an Arab man who considers himself brown but feels like the USA doesn't recognize him. These are those little topics that you need to know about. What are the struggles of Middle Eastern kids? The White House wants to add a new racial category for Middle Eastern people. And I've noticed that Middle Eastern people, they consider themselves brown. And that's pretty cool. That's something that I need to know, and I need to just remember and just not go outside that box. That's what they call themselves. That's what I need to respect. Okay, so why are Middle Easterners classified as Caucasian? That's something that we probably didn't know that. But when there's a box of race, it's like black, white, Asian. Which one do you pick? I finally figured out I pick black. I have kids that are mixed, black and white and Hispanic, so they pick both. But that's a really tricky situation. So these are things that you can ask your kids. What would you pick? And it's not something for them to feel uncomfortable about, but it's good to know. So then with teaching Hispanic and Latino kids, since I am that category, I grew up with them. And I talk about my teacher, Miss Smith, who was really impacting, the one that I told you the quote about, that one teacher that pushed me. I mean, that lady up to now, I still talk to her, and she's my favorite teacher and has really encouraged me to be a teacher. And I think that's why I'm a teacher today, is because what she did for me, I feel like I can do for other kids. So here are some resources about educating Hispanic students, effective and instructional practices, improving the achievement of Hispanic students, and the guide for understanding Hispanic students in your classroom. So Hispanic students are the type that are giving. They're very family oriented. I remember when I was in high school, we used to go up to the teacher and give them a kiss on the cheek. I know you can't do that anymore. That's crazy. You can't do it. But I remember that. It was like a connection with your teacher. Hispanic culture has a connection with their doctors and connection with the teachers. And it's just, the culture that I'm part of is just very loving and very, how can I tell you, just very family oriented. So if you come to them as being loving and care about them, they will receive you with open arms, and the parents too. They would. All right, so I want to tell you about the questionnaire right here. You're definitely going to get this. There's a questionnaire that I would give to my first level students, or second, you could give it to everybody on the first weeks of school before you start talking about identity. And some of the questions here are, where are your parents from? Have you ever had a black teacher before? Now you could tweak these questions to fit you, okay? I just did this because I wanted to know about my kids, since they're white and I'm not. I wanted to know more about them. So, do you think your teacher understands you? Why? Why not? Do you have a teacher in the school who understands you? Why and why not? And what I end up doing with this is that I just don't let them put their name if they want to. So some of them do. In my study with this, the only ones who put their names were my Asian students. So that's, hey, go figure. I don't know why they did that. But anyway, so let's go back. So we went over each one of these. And like I said, we just need to go ahead and study everything about our students. The questionnaire is something that you could come up with your questions, and I already went over that, which you could use mine as a guide for sure, because a questionnaire is a good way of breaking the ice. It's kind of like playing that bingo game that you go around the class and say, hey, who has a red shirt? There's like 5 kids with red shirt. Okay, sign their name. And it's just fun. You could do something like that with the questionnaire. It's just more private. And I tell you, my white students were really uncomfortable about filling out that questionnaire. They were like, I don't understand this question. How are we similar? How are you and I similar? And I said, just like that. How are we similar? And I wanted them to bring up the obvious, but they didn't. They would say something like, oh, she's from Dominican Republic and I'm not, I wanted to say that she's a different color or she speaks differently, but they didn't say that. But they weren't ready yet, and it's okay. So racial ethnic identity research, your students interactive. So this is what I've observed, and this is my opinion, I've observed about different students. Black students, what's important is sports, art, music, culture, expressing their feelings. Asian students, education, studying abroad, life of immersion, they're very reserved. White students, education, sports, family, and I feel like they are reserved. At least my point of view, I feel like white students are reserved. Middle Eastern, many have their own businesses, they're reserved, and the art and culture is very, very relevant and exciting for them. Latino students are reserved. In some cases they are, like when it comes to certain personal things, they're reserved. Cultural difference, and the food, very important. Food is important when the Latino culture, they always invite you to their house to eat. it's really exciting. Anyway, each student group has many stereotypes and generalizations. Study each one for yourself, and even then, you won't know everyone fully, and it's true. Take the time to know your students. Learn a fact a week about each one. As language teachers, we can get away with conversing about ourselves and learning about ourselves and others. Yeah, we can get away with a lot of things because we teach a cultural class. So how do you relate to your students? My conclusion: love them, care about them, share food with them if you can. My school doesn't let me share food anymore. Oh my gosh, I'm about to cry. But I used to share food with them and I loved it. But if you can, go ahead and do that. Ask about their culture. Always ask, how's your Nana doing? How's Papa? You know, I always ask them about that. I'm always interested in their grandparents. And I use their grandparents in their projects. Like I'll say, hey, interview your grandparent, ask her questions. The grandparents love me more than the parents. It's just amazing. So if you have any questions or you need any help in anything, you can contact me. This is my Facebook page. I have a Gmail, my group, Incorporating Afro-Latino Culture in Spanish Classrooms. If you're not a Spanish teacher, it's okay. You can still join the group and learn about the Afro-Latino culture. You can also find me on the Afro-Latina teacher page. And I also have other pages like Bilingual Kids Incorporated and Spanish con Sazón. So I'm really excited to share this with you, all this information and all this research. Please find me if you need to. And these pictures of these beautiful people here are my family. I love incorporating my family in all my slideshows because I just love my family. In the bottom, I have one of my foster kids on there and stuff. So I have 5 kids. So I just love broadcasting my family. They're beautiful and they're part of me. So everywhere I go, I take them with me. And I just want everybody to know that I love my family. So anyway, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation and please contact me if you need any help. Adios. Goodbye. Bonjour.